this first topic. I'm not sure if many people have got wind of this, but 19 black families purchased 97 acres in, look, I think, Georgia. They basically said they're hoping that it will be a thriving safe haven for people of color, for black families in particular. It's the land sits just east of Macon, and Dwayne, you probably know that area. You know Georgia, right?
I
East
know
of
a little bit about Georgia.
Wilkinson County. It was a real estate agent, her husband, some investors. They all got together, put some money together, and purchased this land. Now, my question is, they're looking to turn this land into kind of an area for just particularly black folks only. Is that a racist thing to do? Is there a negative connotation to that? Is that okay for black folks to do that, create a place just for black folks?
I mean, I don't think it's a negative connotation. I mean, let's look at Black Wall Street in Oklahoma back in the 1950s. It was just black people, black currency, black businesses, black homeowners, the whole nine yards. I mean, I think that's a good thing. It's just how people want to take it. I mean, if they want to take it in a racist condensation, then that's on them. But if it's black owned, why not invest? Why not give back to your people? Why not?
I'm curious if white people will look at that as though we're being segregated, if you will. What are your thoughts on that, Mass?
Well, I mean, anyone who would even suggest that has probably not spent a lot of time traveling into every neighborhood in the country. I mean, the reality is that our neighborhoods are already segregated. Every state, every community, every place where people live, there are black people and white people. This is well documented that we don't share communities together. So it would be really funny to me for someone to say, well, how can they buy 97 acres? We got whole counties here in Metro DC that's just black.
Well, King County, is that mostly black?
Here. And you have whole counties that are mostly white, and then you have pockets within those counties where it's Spanish over here and white over there. So whether you admit that this is the way it sort of is already, it is. What I like though about this is that there is a ownership of land.
Right.
I think that's important, right?
Yeah.
I think there's an ownership, the ability, no matter how we slice it, ownership of property in this country is the engine of wealth building. So I think that this is a positive development. I hope that they crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's, so there's no drama. But this is the key to home ownership. This is the key to wealth building, and I think that for a lot of us, we need to be re-examining some of these collective, these things that we can do collectively.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree on that one.
Now they mentioned that in light of all the stuff that's been going on as relates to the killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all that, they wanted to create what they call a safe space. Now,
I don't know about a safe space in Georgia. I mean, let's just be honest, okay? I mean,
you talking about safe space in Georgia? Oh man, is there a safe space in Georgia?
I'm curious, is it even creating a safe space with a whole bunch of black folks in one community?
Hey, I can't agree with the word safe space. I mean, I think it's a, like Madison said, is building wealth for our people, and that's what you need to do. You need to promote home ownership and wealth and residual income. Right. But as far as a safe space, I think that's a bad choice of words. I mean,
it's definitely aspirational, but I don't think there's a part of me that feels almost like they're sitting ducks, right? Like,
let's just sit here and take a pot shot. Okay,
right. I mean, we have some crazy folks, and you can look at Black Wall Street and what happened in Tulsa, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that was a whole thriving community, and folks just said, well, you know what? They're doing too well. Let's just burn it all down.
Burn it down.
But I mean, but the alternative is to do nothing. And
Right.
I think that that's not a realistic alternative. I mean, what are you gonna do? Just fold before the fight? No, you don't fold before the fight. You fight.
This is true. They went on to say, watching our people protesting in streets. While it is important, I want people to stay out in the streets, bringing attention to the injustice of Black people. We needed to create a space where we could be a village again, a tribe again. We wanted to create this safe space where we can address our own issues and concerns. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I'm interested to see how it turns out. I'm interested to see the formation of it all, if you will, the leadership, and how that works out. I
I
hope it
think
works out great.
I think if it works out, and we pray that it does, let's just hope that greed doesn't get in the middle. We all know what happened to a lot of the tribes in Africa when colonization came in and slavery started. Greed is what got a lot of our people back in the 1800s when slave or 1600s and stuff, when slavery kind of first started. Greed, that dollar, man, and we all know what that dollar do to a person real quick.
Yeah,
And then on top of that, as long as we our people don't start hating each other or feeling jealous of someone because, oh, well, you got land that was there. Like, hey man, like you could have got the same thing I got. What did you do to get this?
Right.
And I think like Madison said, you got like DC got pockets of like Black people over here and Black people over there, and then you got the uppity Black folks and you got the hood Black folks.
it's like that.
Black folks in
Texas is like that too, for sure.
But it's like, oh, because you like my daddy said, you can have a house on the hill, you can have a house in the hood. Which one do you want? And that's that personal choice. So I mean, hopefully they create this they make this community robust and have a different blend of people.
So would you both be willing to live in an environment like that, in a community that's an all black founded, Black only community town, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, they just people, my neighbors just gonna know I got guns in the house. I mean, I'm like, hey man, hey, I love you to death, but I mean, I got my shotgun and everything else. Just don't do nothing stupid. We good. Leave me alone. I leave you alone. Hey neighbor, how you doing? You need something?
I happen to think that intentional communities, I am a fan of intentional communities. I've always been a fan of intentional communities. And I think that we are, at the risk of sounding, philosophical or whatever, or a little bit woo, I feel like we're moving into a different sort of paradigm. Not just Black people, I say humanity. I feel like we are at a precipice right now where we may be moving into a new paradigm. And I think if we do this right, I feel that we will begin to understand how important it is for us to work together and to collectively build things together. And this isn't just a race, Black or white or whatever. I'm just saying, as a human race, I do think that there are going to be, I mean, we're seeing it already, right? In COVID, we're seeing a lot of people who are, blended families are moving back into homes together, right? Because of the financial situation and the job situations, and we're having to learn how to do that again. And I think that there's room to expand on that. And I think people are starting to see, hey, this thing that we built that we thought was all so advanced and so wonderful, maybe not as much as we thought. And yeah. I can foresee a time when more people are considering intentionally villaging, like sort of intentionally villaging.
Brittany says, where's the leadership coming from as far as policies and ordinances? If that isn't established with a good foundation, it will go downhill fast. Yeah, that's true. I think, in my opinion, I always look at how does Black leadership lead now in cities, and like Black city council. What's wrong? What about that, Dwayne? What's that about? Go ahead. I'll let you talk.
I mean, I think Black leadership now in cities. So let's take Richmond, Virginia, right now. I think the the governor or the mayor of Richmond, I think he's doing a really good job. I mean, he has, controlled COVID as best he could. He put policies in place to like keep people healthy, keep people safe. People are going to do what they want to do regardless of the fact. But I think he's doing the best. I mean, for example, he's pushing to take down the racist monuments of, all the Civil War generals, Confederate Civil War generals. I think as long as Black leaders don't get corrupted by the evil that's been in this world for so long, I think that they will be okay. And I think if they look at the fact that it takes, you have to have a heart to lead, and you have to have a heart to it takes a heart to raise a village, and it takes a community to keep it together in a sense. And that pulse, that heartbeat is everybody. And as long as these leaders that are in this community, they understand that it's going to take from the top to the bottom to make that community thrive and grow, I think they'll be fine. But you just have you have too many crooked ones that are in these other major cities that let money get to their head. And again, money is the root of all evil. So yeah, as long as money don't get involved, as long as people take their personal vendettas out of it and they think about everybody else, I think they'll be fine.
Right. Well, I mean, this is sort of my wheelhouse, because I do local and state politics, and this is sort of my wheelhouse. And so where they are is not independent of whatever jurisdiction already exists, right? So we have a couple of problems when we think about politics and we think about representation, particularly in Black areas. And we already talked about how they separate. You'll have Black people living here and white people living over there. And really, politically, what has happened is that just like we have gerrymandering in Washington, we have gerrymandering at the state level. So what will happen is districts will be carved out in these weird little funky shapes. And they basically will, I have been saying for a long time that they put all the Black people in one district. So I'll use an example, and I'll use a congressional example because it's an easy one to understand, but this also happens at the state legislative level as well. If you look in Georgia, you can see there's some Black in every state, almost every state, there are Black congressional representatives for that state. I don't care how red the state is, right? Yeah. So Georgia has its Black representatives, Texas, all of the states have their own little representative for that. And they've carved it out, and it's all the Black people in that one district. But here's the thing about that: it actually diminishes our voice. Because if you have, let's just imagine for a moment, you have 50 people in your state legislature, and they've carved out 2 or 3 little districts where all the Black people live. Right. And we vote for these Black leaders, and we feel good about it because we feel they understand us, and we send them to the state capitol to represent us. But there's 50 seats there, and we've got 3 of them because they've carved them all out and ghettoized us into these. So we only got 3 voices, and that does not represent our population. If they had created those districts fairly, yes, they would break us up, but we would have a say in that district and in that district and in that district and in that district and in that district. You see what I'm saying? So this is what, and these are the types of, so this is I'm like, this is the stuff that turns me on, right? So this is the thing that it's hard to get to people to understand. And when I'm doing my political consulting with Bold Blue Campaigns, we work exclusively with local and state candidates, Democratic candidates. Corruption is a problem in areas where there's no chance that. So what happens in places like in blue states and in blue cities, Chicago, Baltimore, places like that, no Republican is ever going to win in those places, right? So what happens is those people get elected, and they know they can't really be challenged, right? And so what we do is we say, oh no, we're going to make it possible for a challenger to come in and not need to have $40 million to run a campaign against you in city commission.
Mhm.
So what we do is we're grassroots funded. So the candidate doesn't have to have deep pockets to be able to challenge an incumbent in the primary. So that's one way that we're trying to flatten that influence of money in places where that kind of corruption exists. And then in places where there are red Republicans who are always running and they never have a challenger because no Democrat feels that they can run and be effective, we support that too. So there are ways to do this. Part of it is making sure that the people and the leadership understands that you have this community, and that's great, but you're still part of those jurisdictions and you still have to actively participate, and you can't let them ghettoize you.
Does it matter that this place that these people bought is unincorporated?
No, because if it's unincorporated, then it's probably part of the county. They have probably a county commission that's representing them. Okay. And so my concern would be from a political and power standpoint, whether or not those 97 acres, I would be concerned about whether those 97, where those 97 acres are and how many, what districts if there's one or more districts at that 97 acres, there's probably a good chance that district that they may be represented by more than one county commission district, which would be great. If it would be great if that was the case, because then they have a double voice and double influence, right?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. We'll see how this turns out. I'm quite excited to see. And I'll be following. Get Mr. Haynes is coming in here. It looks like we got someone popping in. Mr. Haynes, what's going on, sir? How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on, man?
What's up, Dwayne Madison?
Hey, what's happening?
How you doing? All right. Good. Y'all doing all right?
You jumping in on the tail end of a conversation of about was it 19 black folks in Georgia. They bought 97 acres of land, and they turned it into kind of a safe place, black only type community. And we're just talking about the pros and cons of something like that. What are your thoughts on it before we hop on to the next topic?
Okay, my connection is short out. You said the pros and cons of what?
Of a black only community bought by 19 black individuals, 97 acres of unincorporated land.
Oh, well, I think. Oh, I guess. Hopefully, we won't have no Tulsa problems.
I said the same thing earlier.
Right.
That's cute. Yeah. I mean, my thing is, it depends on what kind of people we dealing with, man. Because, empire, power. All those people.
Oh man, that's what I said earlier. That corruption, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. We are not immune to it.